When an earthquake takes place, shock waves go reverberating around the inside of the Earth. And by analyzing these echoes with computers, you can recreate a model of the inside of the Earth. And sure enough, the core seems to be about to spin backwards.
Why is the planet suddenly shaking itself apart? Over the past 2 days, a strange and alarming chain of earthquakes has put the world on edge. But these tremors are not random acts of nature. They are connected to a shocking new discovery about the Earth's core. Geologists have found undeniable proof that the core has not only shifted its position, but has also started to behave in a way never seen before. The answers to why our world is becoming so unstable lie 4,000 miles down, and scientists are now racing to figure out what happens next. A pattern of panic. You see, for most of us, an earthquake is a local event, a terrifying but isolated disaster. But what has been happening over the last 48 hours is something else entirely. It's not one event, it's a swarm, a cascade of seismic activity that seems to be coordinated across thousands of miles of ocean and land. According to seismic monitoring stations, from October 5th to October 7th, the planet entered a state of unusual unrest. It began in Indonesia, a region famous for being on the volatile Ring of Fire. A magnitude 5.2 quake struck in the Indian Ocean, followed by a 4.5 in North Halmahera. Normally, this wouldn't raise too many eyebrows, but not all things are what they seem. What was strange was the timing. These weren't aftershocks from a larger event. They were seemingly independent tremors. What many overlooked in that first moment was what happened next. Thousands of miles away, across the vast Pacific, another fault line roared to life. A magnitude 5.6 quake was registered southwest of Fiji. Again, in a deep, remote part of the ocean, so it went largely unfelt by any population. But seismologists felt it. Their equipment lit up. Two completely separate tectonic plate boundaries, active in such a short window of time. The thing is, it didn't stop there. Alerts started pinging from sensors all over the Pacific Rim. The data showed a frequency and scale of activity that was, to put it mildly, well above the norm for this time of year. Seismologists at the United States Geological Survey, or USGS, report that the world experiences about 500,000 detectable quakes a year, but only about 100 of those cause damage. The recent events weren't record-breaking in their power, but they were terrifying in their pattern. It was as if something was stirring the planet from the inside, shaking different parts of its shell all at once. Many people are crazy about finding a single cause, a central trigger for this global seismic fever. But experts were initially stumped. There was no massive, world-breaking quake that could have set off a chain reaction. No asteroid impact. Just a planet that suddenly seemed to be cracking at its seams. The aftershocks in some regions were streaking into the double digits, a sign that the crust was under immense and continuing stress. In Turkey, a region still recovering from the devastating events of 2023, where over 50,000 lives were lost, the population was on high alert, even though the current tremors were minor. But the psychological effect was huge. It felt like the planet had become fundamentally unstable. The big question wasn't just what was happening, but why it was happening now. And the search for that answer would lead scientists not to the fault lines on the surface, but 4,000 miles down, to the fiery center of the world. They were about to discover that the ground beneath us was just the stage for a much larger and much more alarming drama. The clues were not in the rocks of the crust, but in the waves of energy that passed through the very heart of the Earth, when north became south. For decades, we've pictured the Earth's core as a simple, two-part engine, a solid metal ball floating inside a swirling ocean of liquid iron. This engine, hotter than the surface of the sun at over 5,000 degrees Celsius, generates the magnetic field that protects us from cosmic radiation. The thing nobody tells you is that this engine isn't a static ball. It moves. It spins. For years, scientists believed the inner core was spinning slightly faster than the rest of the planet. But then came the bombshell. According to groundbreaking research published in September of 2025, that's no longer true. Using data from repeating earthquake echoes measured at stations in Antarctica, scientists at the University of Southern California made a mind-blowing discovery. Around the year 2009, the inner core's rotation slowed to a crawl. Then, it stopped, and a year later, it started spinning the other way. This is a wow factor of planetary proportions. Imagine the very center of the world, a solid iron sphere 1,200 kilometers wide, reversing its direction. To put it mildly, this changes everything. The study, which analyzed over 1,000 earthquakes dating back to 1991, provided the first concrete proof of this bizarre behavior. You see, every time an earthquake happens, it sends seismic waves through the planet. By comparing waves from the same location over different years, scientists can see how the path of those waves has changed. The changes they saw could only be explained by the inner core not just slowing down, but actually reversing its spin relative to the planet's mantle. For people watching this, it might be tempting to wonder if all this is really true. The evidence is hidden in complex data, but the conclusion is stark and has been peer-reviewed and published in the journal Nature. So, are we missing a key detail? The thing is, this isn't just an academic curiosity. This shift could have real-world consequences that are just now beginning to be understood. The core's spin is intimately linked to our planet's magnetic field. Many people are crazy about the idea of a full magnetic pole flip, but the immediate effects could be more subtle, yet just as disruptive. Scientists are now speculating that this core reversal could be causing small but significant fluctuations in the magnetic field. These could disrupt navigation systems that rely on compasses. A deviation of just 5 degrees over a few decades could be catastrophic for shipping and aviation. But what's even more fascinating is the effect on the natural world. Birds, sea turtles, and other animals use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate during their vast migrations. A field that is becoming unstable could lead them astray, threatening entire species. This is the first clue connecting the chaos on the surface to the strange physics happening deep below. But the core's bizarre dance was even stranger than a simple reversal. There was another secret it was hiding. Earth's deformed engine. It turns out the Earth's core isn't just spinning backward. It's not even a perfect sphere. What many overlooked for years, assuming a perfectly round center, was a shocking asymmetry. Research from February of 2025, also from the University of Southern California, revealed that the inner core is lopsided. It's deforming. By analyzing the speed of seismic waves passing through it, geologists found something bizarre. The waves traveled faster or slower depending on the angle they passed through the core. This 1 to 2% variation in speed could only mean one thing. The core is growing unevenly. It appears to be growing faster on one side, in the eastern hemisphere, than it is on the other. This challenges the fundamental model of a uniform, cooling sphere that has been in textbooks for generations. Our planet's heart is warped. You see, this isn't just a cosmetic issue. An unevenly growing core could have profound implications. It suggests that the cooling process at the center of our world is not uniform. Some parts are losing heat faster than others. This could create imbalances in the massive convection currents in the liquid outer core, the very currents that generate our protective magnetic shield. The thing is, the weirdness doesn't stop there. In another September 2025 study, scientists using the supersensitive GRACE-FO satellites, which measure tiny changes in gravity, spotted something else. They found a gigantic, low-density blob of material migrating at the boundary between the core and the mantle, a chaotic layer nearly 3,000 kilometers deep, known as the D double prime layer. This blob is enormous, estimated to have a mass of 10 to the power of 19 kilograms. That's more than the mass of all the water in the Earth's oceans. Many people are crazy about what this blob could be. Some theories suggest it's the remnant of ancient oceanic crust that was pushed or subducted all the way down to the edge of the core over hundreds of millions of years. Others believe it could be a massive plume of hot material rising from the core itself, destined to one day become a volcanic hotspot on the surface. Whatever it is, its movement is another source of instability. This massive shifting weight at the base of the mantle could be subtly altering the stresses on the tectonic plates far above. For people watching this, it might be tempting to wonder if all this could be true. But the data from the GRACE satellites is incredibly precise. They can detect changes in mass equivalent to a few inches of water across a continent. The blob is real, and it's moving. We now have a trifecta of terrifying truths: a core that's spinning backward, a core that's growing crooked, and a mysterious continent-sized mass shifting around it. This brings us directly to the people watching this, wondering if this all adds up to the end of the world, connecting the deep to the surface. So, here we are, looking at a completely new picture of the planet. For people watching this, it might be tempting to wonder if all this is really true. The reports of a global earthquake swarm, a core spinning backward, a lopsided center, and a mysterious blob sound like something out of a disaster movie. The truth is, we may never know for certain if these events are all directly connected, happening in a single catastrophic moment. The scientific papers describe processes that happen over years, even decades. But that doesn't mean the mystery isn't real. The power of these discoveries is that they are happening now. For the first time, we have the technology to see the planet's deepest secrets, and what we're seeing is unsettling. So, are we missing a key detail? The thing is, the connection between the Earth's core and the surface isn't a simple one-to-one relationship. It's not as if some invisible switch in the core was flipped yesterday, and suddenly earthquakes started rattling cities. The process is far more subtle, more insidious. It's like a slow, invisible pressure that builds deep within the planet over centuries, decades, or even millennia. Imagine the core spinning, changing shape slightly, becoming lopsided in ways we can barely detect. That shift sends ripples upward, altering the flow of heat through the mantle. And that's where it starts to matter. Those ripples create new stress points on tectonic plates, the giant slabs of rock that make up the surface. Those stress points may start small, invisible to our daily lives, but over time they accumulate, concentrating energy like a spring being compressed. Then, there's the mysterious blob at the core mantle boundary. Scientists describe it almost like a hidden, dense weight inside a giant, vibrating washing machine. Its presence is subtle, yet its effect is profound. It can unbalance the entire system, shifting the way heat and pressure move through the planet. The recent swarm of earthquakes might seem isolated, even coincidental, but in this context, it could be something more. It could be a warning shot, a small tremor signaling that these deep, slow-moving forces are finally making their presence felt at the surface. What we feel as earthquakes may just be the tip of a much larger, invisible process that has been quietly unfolding beneath our feet for thousands of years. What's truly unsettling is that these discoveries force us to confront the reality that the Earth is far more dynamic and volatile than we ever imagined. The ground beneath us, the roads we drive on, the houses we build, the cities we trust to remain stable, is anything but solid. It's a fragile, thin crust over a planet in constant motion, reshaped from the very core outward. The scientists who uncovered this are not panicking irrationally. They are realizing that the models we've relied on for decades, the neat equations and assumptions about how the Earth behaves, are no longer sufficient. They are racing to understand this new, more complex reality. The evolution of the core has protected life for billions of years, generating the magnetic field that shields us from deadly cosmic radiation. Yet as it continues to cool and change, it may introduce forces we don't fully understand, stresses we have never felt. This is not a story of sudden apocalypse, but rather of slow, inexorable transformation. The real question is no longer whether the core is changing. It is how fast, and what the long-term consequences will be for life on the surface. We are witnessing the slow awakening of our planet, a reminder that Earth's most powerful movements begin far below, in places we cannot see, and that the surface is merely the stage on which the results finally play out. Is our planet's core sending us a warning we can't afford to ignore? Let us know your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more discoveries that change the way we see the world.